We have to edit in a whole new way. We have to think differently than we've ever thought before. And certainly I'm here to show you off, obviously, Nick software. But I'm mostly here to show you how to think differently. And how to think differently means we've got to edit more efficiently than we've ever edited before. First and foremost is Define, which is the noise reduction software. And I always talk about it first because that should be in the order of the workflow. We highly recommend you start with noise reduction. If you're going to reduce noise, do it first. Don't do it last. Don't do it after you've edited. Don't do it after you've made any adjustments. Do it first. Noise reduction should go first. But then the last thing you should do before you save your file is sharpen. Sharpen last. That should be the last thing that you do. And you should sharpen based on your output. So this one we shot yesterday, and this was shot, I think some of you were with me when I shot this. This was at 3200. And so at 3200, we got some problem there. Even my big mighty D3. Yes. Not very much though compared to some brands. So I'm just going to go up to Photo, Edit in, Define. So I can access it from Photoshop by just doing Edit. Let's go Photo, Edit in. So it's open in the interface now. It's open in the image. The interface coming up. There it is. Automatic noise reduction, and it's analyzing, and it's done. It's that fast. So now if I zoom in and look at the before and after. There's before, and there's after. Big difference, folks. Big difference. So the next thing I want to talk about is Vivesa, which is Vivesa was designed and produced to selectively edit light and color. That was the term that we came up with for Vivesa. I'll add a control point and place it just on the pink, and I'll just pick kind of a medium area of the pink right in there. The size, this is a concern for people. Everybody's like, I don't want it to be a round edit. It's not going to be a round edit. It will never be a round edit. Don't get caught up thinking it's a round edit. It's not. I'll show you the edit. Let me open up the size to encompass both of the flowers. Now what it's doing is right where I place the control point, it's reading all the pixel information. It's reading the RGB values, of course, but it's also reading brightness, contrast, texture, saturation, hue, luminosity. It's reading everything. So as I go in and make an adjustment, in this case, let's say I just make it a little bit darker. I'll add a little bit of contrast. I'll add a little bit of saturation just to get funky. And if I want to see what the mask is doing, I can come down to control point list on the right, and I go to the far right edge, that little checkbox right there. It says hide, show or hide selection. There's the selection that it just made. So if I go to that, look at how accurate. Look how accurate the mask is that it made. I can't do that in Photoshop, guys. I can't do it in anything on the market. Not like that. You know, there's a new adjustment that we put in last year with when we came out with Vivesa 2, which allows us to do something that we've never been able to do before, which is open up shadows and do a really great job of opening up shadows instead of just a brightness control, which is all we had in Vivesa 1. But shadow adjustment slider gives me the ability to go in and place a control point on this side of the barn. And I can put it just right here, and again, bring my circle down to encompass just the side of the barn, and come down to shadow adjustment, which is the new slider. And it opens and changes shadows without shifting color. Now we got to talk about one of my favorite products, Silver FX 2. At the default setting, it's okay, it's not bad, but the engineering team did two things that nobody's ever done before. First, there's never been any improvement on the brightness sliders or contrast sliders. When you move a brightness slider, if I click on brightness, oops, sorry. If I click on brightness and move it to the right, every brightness slider works exactly the same. Everything gets brighter and loses contrast. If I go to the left, everything gets darker and loses contrast. That's what brightness sliders do. But our guys said, well, what if we create an algorithm that will allow us to change brightness level organically. And it applies a different level of brightness in the image as it goes up and down. So that if I want to go bright, the light areas stay where they are and the dark areas come up. And if I go the other way, what if the dark areas stay where they are and the bright areas come down? So they wanted to give us the ability, so I can do this and I'm not blowing out the horse. I'm keeping the contrast range in check. Nobody's ever done this before. So this is new. This is the thing that Adobe called us on and went, holy shit, how did you do that? Of course, we have structure, which everybody's wild about. Structure is fine lines and details, textures, the increase of textures, and it gives us that kind of a look. A little bit grungy sometimes. But then there's a new slider here called fine structure. And that takes the smallest of the details and gives us textures and details. It's great for taking fine structure to the minus side if you're doing a close-up portrait of someone. It'll take the pores of their skin and just turn them into milkiness without adding any diffusion. So it does a brilliant job on skin tone by moving it to the negative side. And then on something like this, you move it to the positive side and it does a real nice job on all these Nick products. These products are, it's kind of like a product that once you see it, you got to have it. Until you see it, you don't understand. It's like people that say, why would I ever use that stuff? Well, have you ever seen it? Well, no. Well, just look at it and I'll shut up. You know? Let's talk about Color Efex Pro 4. Color Efex Pro 4. This is the shizzle. I'm going to go to Color Efex 4. I'm going to open it up. It remembers the last filter you used, which is a little ridiculous. But there's a new filter I'm going to show you called Detail Extractor. I'm going to click on Detail Extractor. Let me take it to 0 first off. Let me get this out of the way. There we go. And let me show you what Detail Extractor does. Imagine, you guys know how to, you guys have probably placed black point and white point in your files before, right? So if you place a black point or white point in your file, it sort of optimizes your contrast range, right? So imagine if you could go through your image and place a white point and a black point on every object in your picture. That's what Detail Extractor does. So Detail Extractor opens up details and shadows, and it brings down highlights, just like an HDR kind of a look would do. But it does it a little bit differently because it's doing it with detail, highlight and shadow detail all the way through. And we've got some added controls here of saturation, contrast, and I can affect the radius of what I'm doing by coming over here. Watch these dresses right here as I change from normal to fine, for example, or down to large. So now it's only changing certain areas of the picture. It's very organic. It's very weird. Okay? So Detail Extractor is very, very cool. Now, let's look at the faces and see if we like what it's doing. I'm not wild about what it's doing to her face. I like these faces fine, but I don't like what it's doing to her face. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to go Control Point minus. And I'm going to put a Control Point minus on her face right here. And it just removed the effect from her face. So now, if I do before and after, her face stays the same, but her hair is affected, but her skin stays the same. Pretty cool. Now, let's add another filter to this. Let's go over here and pick some more filters. So here's the fun part. This is where it gets great. You see this little button right here that says Add Filter? Click to Add Filter, or there's a shortcut command, which you will love me for telling you the shortcut command, Jimmy, especially since you're going to update this. I'm going to go to Bleach Bypass. Bleach Bypass is my favorite filter. So I'm going to go to Bleach Bypass. I'm going to hold down the Shift key, and I'm just going to click on it. And the Shift click, watch what happens over here on this side. Watch all this change when I go Bleach Bypass. Pink. There's a texture filter that we had in our Polaroid transfer filter that would give you paper texture. We added that in here. So if I move up the texture, you see how it adds a paper texture? If you want the look of a textured fine art paper, but you're going to print on a luster or a glossy paper, you can just bump up the textured paper and it gives it that look. It's kind of a cool thing. Paper toner, by the way, is not a bad choice if you don't have SilverFX 2. It's not a bad way to go. You can look at all the different options that you have here. So here's a 5-stop bracket series. And I'm on a tripod. So I've made my bracket. So now I'm just going to highlight all 5 of those. And I'm going to do, in Photoshop, you reach multiple files by using our interface and then going and browsing and finding the images. In Aperture, you go to Photo Edit With plugin. In Lightroom, you highlight the 5 pictures you want, and then you do a right-click and Export To. You don't go up and go Photos Edit With. You do right-click, Export to HDRFX Pro. There's the default, and here's where I am now. But folks, within a print here, what you have is the ability to, I mean, the difference from the sky or the difference from that highlighted rock to the shadow right under here that now I can see. You can't see on the projector, but in there I can see all the detail right in this shadow. That's probably around 6 or more stops difference from each other, and I can see all that. I can see all that data. I can see all that information in this file now. You see this girl walking down the sidewalk up there on the left? She's moving. See her walking? So if I merge these together, here is their 3-stop bracket. So there's minus, there's normal, there's plus. I got her in 3 different places in those 3 brackets. So let's open all 3 of those. I'll do a right click, which is hold down and control click. Export to HDRFX Pro. So it's going to merge all those 3 together, and it's going to give me an HDR picture, but I'm going to have a ghost because she's moving. Let's do this. We're going to go up here and say alignment and ghost reduction. And I'm going to say ghost reduction, and I've got 2 ways of doing it, adaptive and global. Here's the difference. Adaptive is ideally suited for a stationary object that might be moving a little bit, like a tree with leaves moving, right? Global would be if I got something big ass moving going on. I got a girl walking through my picture or a car driving by. Pink. There's my girl. And then, of course, one of the things I didn't show you guys, and I just assumed that you knew, but as with a lot of our products now, we've got these presets. So I can come down through the presets and I can find a value that I like. It's like, ooh, that's kind of funky. What about that one? Or if you want to look at it and do a funky black and white, you know, or a monochrome that's a little more scary looking. That's kind of fun. All right, let me keep moving because we're going to run out of time here. So let's go back to this guy. And this is the final of the 6 products I want to show you is Sharpener Pro 2. Sharpener Pro, there's 2 options here. Raw pre-sharpener and output sharpener. Let me give you the skinny on the differences. Sharpening is taking place for almost all of you either already in one of 2 places, either in your camera or in your raw processor. So your camera, your sharpening may be turned on, or you might have it turned off, or you probably have it on in your processor, whether you're using Adobe Camera Raw or Lightroom or whatever you're using. Often, pre-sharpening is already turned on. We don't think you should ever pre-sharpen more than once, so I don't recommend using our pre-sharpener at all. I never use it. I've got pre-sharpening turned on in Adobe Camera Raw and in Lightroom, so I don't ever use our pre-sharpener. Doesn't matter. It's a very small thing, and it's very subjective. You may like it, you may not. The output sharpener is priceless, and I use the output sharpener on everything. I use it all the time. I would use it on every print in this building, on all these walls, because everything will benefit. Here's the problem with sharpening. All of us suffer from the same problem with sharpening, and that is that we're sharpening by guesswork. We're looking at our screen and we're sharpening based on what we see on our screen, which the problem with that is when we make a print, it doesn't even closely replicate what we see on that screen. And now I'm finally, I'm finished with this file and I'm about to go to bed and it's midnight. Right? The last thing I'm going to do is go to image. I'm going to go to image, I'm going to go to image size, and I'm going to save the image to whatever I'm about to print. Let's say in this case it's a 6x9 at 300. I'm going to say OK, and I'm going to go to output sharpener. Save for the size that you're about to output, and sharpen for the size you're about to print. What that means is if you've got one print that you're going to make an 8x10 and a 30x40, you got to have two. You need to save it twice. You should save it and label it as such, if you want to do this the right way. It doesn't matter. A lot of people aren't going to take that time, but if you're going to do it, that's the way you should do it. There's our sharpening, there's our before and after, and everything's good. So that's one way to do it. Now, let me get rid of that guy, and I'll bring up one more picture. Look at that left eye. I got the right eye fine, but the left eye, I just missed the damn thing with depth of field. Anybody ever have that happen? All the time. Never. So, before you open it, first things first, last things last, go to image size and double check. Okay, so that's our size we're going to print. Click OK. Now we're going to go to output sharpener. We're going to make a print. We're going to make a... see, and by the way, you can add all these presets. I preset sharpened all my SmugMug Pro files. I've got one called Diane Dude and Tony Dude. I'm so weird.
In SmugMug, you get to define the house in sharpening.
No, it's basically it's as if I went to display. See display? Display sharpening, and I use adaptive sharpening, and I sharpen it till I like it. So I use that setting. They don't give me any setting recommendations. I do it with this. But I do them all. But I did them all the same.
But in the galleries, they have some sharpening.
Turn them off. Turn them off. I've sharpened it already. I turn them off. Don't use their sharpening. Use yours. Okay. All right. So let's go to this picture, and let me zoom in on these eyes. And let's go back down to inkjet. And you can see how we've missed that one. Yeah. So sharpening-wise already, though, it's already helped. Look at this eye right here. There's before and there's after. It's added a little sharpening there. It's already done a pretty good job for me. But selectively now, we want to use the control point to sharpen this eye. So I'm going to come down to creative sharpening. I've got structure, local contrast, and focus, and sharpening strength. And you can see I leave my sharpening strength at 100%. I don't want to ever over sharpen. So as long as I keep that at 100%, no matter what I do, I can't screw this up because it won't let me. So I do not ever move that slider. Now, but I want to add a control point and selectively add sharpening to this eye. So I'm going to hit control point, put it right in the eye, and I'll bring the size down to right in here. And I'm going to click on this little drop-down menu right here. And I'm going to add structure, which is, again, those little textures. And I'm going to bring up local contrast, which will help with the eyelashes. And then I'm going to bring up focus. And just add a little bit of focus back. And here's my before and after. There's before, and there's after.
Wow.
So my overall, let me zoom back in so Graham can see that. Take a look, Graham. So here's my, come on, finish, come on, come on, come on. There's before, and there's after.
What do you do?
I don't know, I didn't see much after.
Oh,